Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our pre-camp leaders meeting. My name is Sven Gilkey. I'm the director here at Fire Mountain Scout Camp. With me here this evening is Josh Platt, our program director for the summer, and Chris Antelak, who will be serving as our head commissioner. We've got an agenda of items to go over this evening, but I wanted to let you know that we are also paying attention to the almighty chat box. So please don't hesitate to throw questions in the chat box. We will kind of stop and make sure that we're addressing those as we go along. So we'll kind of be bouncing around a bit. But like I said, we'll just kind of go through our list and hopefully address your questions as we go along and get done. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the Fire Mountain YouTube and Facebook pages probably sometime tomorrow. Depending on what time it's like. So tomorrow our staff week starts. So we've got staff that have been arriving all day today, and then the rest of them will be showing up during the day tomorrow. So we're just getting everything kind of squared away and ready for that. So with that, kind of kick things off a little bit. Chris, you want to talk about campsite assignments and arrival times?
Sure. So campsite assignments are I've pretty much set them all up, and I've tried as best I could to stick to something in your requests, but that wasn't always possible based on numbers or other circumstances like special needs. So I do apologize if you didn't get one of your selections. I will be putting those campsite assignments out within the next couple of days, just after I verified them one more time. And then what they're going to come out with is a list that's going to tell you what your arrival time is going to be. We do a staggered arrival here. So that we don't have every troop showing up at 1 o'clock and then expecting to be in the camp at 1 o'clock. It creates chaos because we do have our check-in process where the SPL and the Scoutmaster will come and meet with me and go over the roster, and then the SPL and other leaders will be talking to our medic and going through the med forms. That process does take a little bit of time, and if we had everybody running up to the table at once and wanting to get it done all at the same time, it would just be utter chaos, and we don't want that. So you will have an arrival time. There will be 2 campsites that are scheduled at the same time. We work through the process very quickly. After I'm done checking a troop in with the roster, our medic is working on the first troop, and then I'm on to the second troop. It is a very, very efficient process. And I think that's about it.
Okay. Josh, do you want to talk about merit badge scramble and Scouts' opportunity to kind of change their classes when they get here?
Yeah, so Sunday night after you've completed your entry tour and we've had dinner. After dinner, we bring you all out to our kind of parade field area, and under our main shelter, we host our merit badge scramble, which is where your scouts have the opportunity to swap merit badges, sign up for merit badges if they didn't get the opportunity to do so prior to camp, and as much as it may seem like, oh, most of the merit badges are going to be blocked at that point, usually stuff opens up all over the place. So, if your scout wanted to get into shotgun, but wasn't able to sign up, there are likely going to be some spaces that kind of pop up there. It's a really great time to, kind of swap things around and get situated. That night, though, I go in and I update all the changes that were made to the schedule, and then that next morning, you guys get an updated list of where your scouts are going to be during the day. But yeah, provided they're meeting all the same prerequisite requirements, physical safety limits and stuff like that, your scouts are able to swap for whatever they have an interest in trying to get into. So yeah, if they've had some time to think about it since you signed up, don't worry, they can come to camp and there's opportunities to change that. So
okay. Let's see here. So I want to take a moment, so Chris had mentioned that we have a staggered arrival time. When you get to camp, you're going to find a group of camp staff, including Chris, out in the parking lot to kind of initially welcome you to camp. That's where the initial check-in is going to take place, where he'll collect some of your basic information, paperwork and whatnot. He'll also be collecting or checking with you about if you did any of the pre-camp swim test forms to see if you had those. So we can try to start facilitating some of that. But the other thing that's going to happen in the parking lot is there's going to be a filter of how you get to your campsite and how that works. So there's two ways to get to your campsite and to get your stuff to your campsite. Your scouts and most everyone are going to walk to the campsite. But as far as gear goes, they can carry their gear. The other option is that we allow one vehicle per campsite to drive in, unload, and then return to the parking lot. And so our campsites are not designed for vehicles to be out in the campsites or to stay in camp. And so you'll drive in, you'll unload. Now, if there are two troops in a campsite and the first troop gets here and they drive out and it takes them 4 hours to unload their pickup truck, the second troop is going to show up and wonder when they can drive in, and the answer is when that first troop comes out. So we'll come out and bug you if you're in there too long, but please be efficient about unloading your gear. Think about how you're going to be transporting gear to camp by whatever means that is, so that it's an efficient process to get your vehicle in and get out. On that note, I want to talk about vehicles at Fire Mountain real quick. We have a vehicle policy that basically restricts the vehicles inside the perimeter of the operating area of Fire Mountain. So basically anything other than the parking lot to our camp vehicles and only our camp vehicles. Occasionally there will be other vehicles that need to enter camp, our garbage trucks, food delivery vehicles, the Costco truck to drop off more candy bars to the general store, things like that. But as a general rule, the only vehicles inside the camp perimeter are going to be very obviously Fire Mountain vehicles. So that's our Camp Ranger and his truck. The camp staff use a small Ford Ranger truck to do some things, but our principal means of vehicle operation around camp is two kind of upscaled golf carts that we use to facilitate most of our camp needs and program logistics. The other vehicle that you might see occasionally, though it's probably the vehicle that moves the least, is our administration vehicle. It's a RAV4 that's primarily used when I, as camp director, need to get somewhere fairly quickly for an emergency, and one of the other vehicles isn't available, or if we need to transport an injured scout and things like that, and need to have an enclosed space in order to do that. So otherwise, as a general rule, you're not going to see my RAV move a whole lot. You might see the Ford Ranger move a little bit, but you're primarily going to see those golf carts sitting about to drop things off. And so part of that is facilitating the safety of our program, but also because we, as a council, we feel strongly that the kind of aura of a camp facility kind of gets popped when you see a minivan drive by every 5 minutes. So it's, imagine kind of like visiting a national park. You're used to seeing the park rangers and national park vehicles zipping about doing their job, and they kind of just blur into the background. But the second you start seeing more than a few tourist vehicles, that kind of illusion of being in this magical place kind of starts eroding. So that's what we're trying to keep from happening. So please plan on driving in, unloading your gear on Sunday, because the plan is that there would be no vehicles entering the camp perimeter again until Saturday morning when you guys are ready to start packing up and leaving. If you have people that are coming and going during the week, we have a series of push carts out in the parking lot to help facilitate moving them in and out of camp, so that we don't need to have vehicles driving into camp. So if you do have individuals that have mobility issues and whatnot, that's what the golf carts are for, is our camp staff will help facilitate transporting those individuals. Priority is given to scouts who have mobility issues to getting them to places, and then after that, adults. That said, it is not a taxi or an Uber service, so it is something that needs to be arranged primarily through Chris and his commissioners to help facilitate that if that's a need.
So can you talk about bicycles and e-bikes while you're talking about transportation?
So bicycles, we encourage scouts to bring bicycles. Fire Mountain is 600 over a little over 600 acres. and getting from A to B can be facilitated a lot easier. It's mostly flat, so it's not even difficult to get moving around on bike. That said, bikes are primarily going to be ridden on the camp road systems. They need to be conscious of other individuals on the roads and not be flying by too quickly. There are a couple of areas that will get pointed out during your camp tour where bicycle access is restricted. For example, we don't want people riding their bicycle through the main parade field where a lot of kids are usually playing and running around, just because it's a very difficult area to keep an eye of what's going on, as well as some of the other large field areas. And so there are some restricted there. And then secondly is e-bikes. E-bikes have been defined by Scouting America as a motorcycle. They're categorized the same way as motorcycles and ATVs and other things like that. And so they are a restricted item according to the Guide to Safe Scouting. So we do not allow e-bikes here at Fire Mountain Scout Camp. So, okay, that's bicycles. Chris, you want to talk a little bit about adult programming, starting with Chili and the wonderful things that it does?
Absolutely. So here at Fire Mountain, we have a long-standing tradition of our Scoutmaster Chili Cook-Off. The Scoutmasters all get together for the judging of it, but we always have a few Scoutmasters that like to put their chili out there and see what others think of it. And it is for bragging rights. There is a small trophy that's awarded as well. But it's really a great time and a great time for fellowship. We do provide some basic ingredients. We'll give you some ground beef, some tomato sauce, an onion, some kidney beans if you want the kidney beans. A lot of people last year did not want them, and also some chili powder. Anything else that you want to bring to put in your chili, that is entirely up to you. If you happen to forget something, or you're thinking, you know what, I'm not going to go shopping for it before camp. We do have a grocery store that's within 15 minutes of here. You're welcome, as long as you have enough leaders in camp, you're welcome to leave camp, go down and get what you need, and add that to your chili. We have had some very interesting ones in the past. We've had some chocolate chilies. A couple of years ago, I even added some Spam to mine. And we also have a Scoutmaster from Alaska that brings his salmon and makes a cold salmon chili. So you never know what the Scoutmasters are going to bring. All we ask you to do is bring it. Have some fun with it. We are looking at other programs as well throughout the week. We've had some suggestions from the previous meeting, looking at ways to do maybe an adult kayak or canoe time. Sven has also challenged me to do a little bit of a book study kind of a thing, if anyone's interested in that. So I'm always looking for ideas. I know that Josh and his team have been working on that as well. So if you have ideas, we'd love to do that. We've also done some water activities down at our beach. We have a huge inflatable that the Scoutmasters the last 2 years have had a great time on. And if we can find a way to get you out there on that, we'll do that. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you and having you here.
I'm going to ask this to Josh really quick because he's redrafting the schedule, but there was a question that came in on, is there a specific day that the chili cook-off is? I know when we've normally done it, but did you change that?
No, I'm pretty sure I kept it the same.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Should be Wednesday.
Yep.
If I changed it, no, it's Wednesday.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, Josh is our new program director, replacing JoLynn Garrett as our program director here at Fire Mountain. JoLynn served a number of summers here, did a fantastic job and whatnot, but she has moved on to being our Copen climbing chair, and Joshua is slid into being our program director. So there are a few things where Chris and I are like stuck in a groove of knowing how things are based on the old schedule and whatnot, but we've also given, I would make sure to give Josh as much of a free hand as I can to help him make the program his own. So that's why I'm thinking like, okay, do I need to make sure that didn't change?
It's Tuesday.
It is Tuesday. See, this is why we ask questions. So sorry about that, Bob. It is going to be Tuesday. All right. Josh, can you talk to us a little bit about Friday program and the and what they have to look forward to that?
Yeah, so Friday is our day where we kind of deviate from the schedule you guys have gotten accustomed to all week. We spend the morning kind of making sure we're wrapping up and finishing anything left over from merit badges that we possibly can in camp. We understand it's a little difficult sometimes for scouts to go home with partials, and that, you know, during the week they can get behind for one reason or another. You know, maybe they were sick one day, or maybe they switched in, you know, a little late to the class. Like, so we have this extra slot in that morning to just make sure, all right, let's catch up on what we can catch up on and get you as complete as we can before you head home the next day. And so that takes us from like 9 in the morning till lunch. After lunch, though, is when the fun really starts, and we have our cultist games for the first part of the afternoon. Those games are planned by your SPLs. So throughout the week, your SPLs are going to be meeting with our camp SPL, Ginger Sherd, and planning the cultist games. Ginger's going to work with them to kind of ease them into it, but for the most part, you know, everything's on the table. These are troop activities. But you know, anything they kind of dream up, we work to supply, you know, if it's within our ability. So if they need rope, if they need spars, we've had some really creative stations before, but we as a staff kind of make it happen in that afternoon. Once that wraps up, though, is our Lake Challenge, and that's kind of a marathon, not marathon, but you know, kind of multi-step race, I suppose, relay race. Yeah, with a couple of different steps in it. So we have some cycling, some both forms of aquatics. So
Would you like me to go around the race? Okay. So our Lake Challenge starts with a short distance run. I say short because it's probably not more than a quarter of a mile from the main camp to the marina over one of our trails. At that point, the 2 canoers get in and they paddle from the marina to our fishing dock, where they tag off to a swimmer, and that swimmer will then jump in. I say jump because we don't dive in our lake at that point. They jump in and they swim from that fishing dock to the swim beach, and then they tag off to a mountain biker who mountain bikes all the way around the lake to our climbing wall, where we have a bouldering wall around it. And another participant will boulder around that wall and then tag off to a sprinter who goes from our climbing tower to our bell and tags one of our staff members who rings the bell when they're finished.
Yes. So that's the bulk of the afternoon, though, because after that is our flag ceremony ahead of our world famous chicken flippin' barbecue dinner, which is unlike the rest of the meals you're gonna have that week. Is more of a kind of picnic dinner just out amongst our parade field, and that's when I believe that's also family day. So if you have scout parents that are interested in coming up, this is the meal that they would be coming up for. Registration for that needs to be done the Tuesday of the week your troop is arriving at camp.
By noon on the Tuesday of that week.
But yeah, we prepare lots of chicken to make sure that we have enough to feed everyone that's looking for some food. And then immediately following that is our closing campfire, which is partially
it's
all your scouts. Sorry. Our role is more doing kind of awards and recognitions during that campfire, and then goes to night zip to close the evening out.
So I'll just go ahead and talk about zip now. We have 2 different zipline programs here at Fire Mountain. One of them is our regular troop zip that takes place on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday evenings. Campsites are assigned at a certain night and at a certain time within that night to go for that zip opportunity. If your troop guide is doing a great job over the course of the week, or has done a great job at check-in, because the first opportunity is Monday, please tell your scouts it's okay to invite your troop guides. What we do not want them to do is to invite just the random staffer. It should be more of a way of saying thank you to your troop guide. Otherwise, it gets to be a very long night for those of us that are out there. So that's the Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday troop zip. On Friday evenings, after our chicken barbecue, and for those of you who are maybe checking the chat, Sen right now is posting the sign up for the chicken barbecue. So you can share that link with people. So our night zip activity starts right about 9:30 when it's really starting to get dark. And we will zip the last troop member, and I say troop member because it's people who are registered here in camp. It's not visitors that have come up. It's not little brother and sister that want to go zipping. It's just for our campers and our leaders that are registered here in camp. We generally finish night zip around 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So it is really a long night, but it's a really fun night. We light up the zip tower, we light up our trolleys, and just make it a kind of a glow in the dark experience. We also encourage the scouts and the leaders, if you want to bring or buy glow sticks, you're welcome to do that and light yourselves up. The only thing that we ask is that those participants do not have flashlights, because they tend to shine them in our direction down on the brake platform, and we get blinded, and it gets very difficult to stop people when they're coming down the zip line. Those times are assigned randomly. But if your troop has a situation where you're traveling a really long way and you're like, I really want my scouts to be up super early, we're going to pack most of our stuff the night before, and we're going to go to bed early, and we want to be out of here as early as possible, let me know, and I will try and get you one of the earlier night zip times. One of the questions that always comes up about zip is, do we have weight limits? Yes, we do, and that's for safety purposes. Our lower limit is 70 pounds. We realize some of your scouts are 65 pounds, 65 to 70 pound range. That's fine. We will work with that. But anything bigger than that, we really can't work with on the lower end. On the upper end, our top weight is about 250 pounds. Now, we're not going to question it if it's 5 or 10 pounds over. Okay. The reason for those weight limits, if we have a headwind going into our tower, which is what happens earlier in the night, our lighter scouts tend to not make it down, which means we have to go out and do retrievals and bring and haul them in from the middle of the zip line. On the other hand, when we have a tailwind, heavier scouts and heavier leaders come crashing into our zip brakes, and it makes it very difficult to stop them. So when our staff has to adjust those weight limits, please understand that we're working within safety parameters, and we want to make sure that everybody is safe. One thing that I will say about our lighter zippers, if you have a number of smaller scouts, we will try to work with you and have them come back a little bit later, because usually about 8:30 our wind shifts from a headwind to a tailwind. So it becomes easier at that point to get those smaller scouts down. If you have any questions about the zip line, you can always email us, and I'm more than happy to jump on and answer those questions for you.
All right. Really quick, want to touch on a couple of things. One is fire in camp. So we are currently not operating on a burn ban, and knock on wood, we won't necessarily have too bad of a summer where too many burn bans get placed on us, but it has become the norm for Skagit County to enter into a burn ban around the 4th of July or a little after, depending on rainfall and things like that. And so there is a modified burn ban in effect right now, but it doesn't affect Fire Mountain. And the reason why is that we have invested quite a bit into building some amazing fire pits in your campsites, our campfire bowl, and so they need a certain standard where as long as the flames don't go too far above the edge of the fire pit, and that there's water sources nearby and a few other things, we are allowed to continue to have fires here on the property. If that changes, we will let you know. But at the moment, If you go onto the Skagit County Fire website and you're a little concerned about where it's at or whatnot, just so you know, we have a great system for fire here on prevention here on the property. And so as long as we're burning inside our fire pits, your scouts will continue to enjoy s'mores and other amazing experiences that involve fire.
Bob, to answer your question, we do have some firewood here. You're certainly welcome to bring your own if you would like. But we do have a wood shed for the center part of our camp and both other sides of the camp as well.
Okay. The dietary needs. We realized that our special needs forum closed a little while ago, but if you have scouts that have come to you and let you know that special need, that they have a special need, dietary restrictions or other things like that, please don't hesitate to email us as soon as you get that information. We understand that you have scouts that might still be signing up to try to join your troop coming this summer. Maybe they've just moved into the area. Maybe it's a scout that just crossed over and you weren't aware that they had a dietary issue. There's any number of reasons, and for that matter, we're also perfectly aware that getting information out of some families is like pulling teeth. So if you get a little surprise email like, hey, my scout needs this and things like that, please let us know as quickly as possible, and we will work very diligently to try to provide for those needs and what they need. There was a question about how much for wood, cash only. We actually, our wood in our wood sheds here at camp is all free. So it's one of those pros and cons of we have trees that fall down and we cut them up and we put them in the woodshed and then you burn them. The con is that the trees fall down and then we have to cut them up. But that also means that the wood in our woodsheds is not seasoned necessarily. It's not. It's for most of the wood that's in our woodsheds is relatively green. Not that the tree was necessarily alive when we cut it down usually, but because it was still standing and whatnot and hasn't been cut for very long, it can be a little bit harder to light than, for example, the dried bundles that you might buy at a local grocery store, things like that. So just be aware of that. So is there an overall theme for camp or daily themes? So our staff week starts tomorrow, and one of the things that our camp staff will be working on is going to be a weekly kind of story adventure skit that's going to happen throughout the week. But no, there is not an overall theme for Scouts BSA or for our Scouts BSA resident camp. Here at Fire Mountain, our theme programs are Cub Scout programs. The Scouts BSA program is at Fire Mountain is based around the vision of helping your troop grow into a stronger unit. So let's see here. Talk about dietary needs. Chris, you want to mention Honor Troop real quick?
Yeah. So like most camps, scouts as part of their troop can work towards a troop award. We have what we call the Baden Powell Honor Troop Award. And what it is a list of things that the scouts as a troop will need to do. There's a set list at the beginning of tasks that must be done. And I believe there are 7, 8, or 9 of those that must be done and checked off. The other part of it gives them some choice. I believe there are like 9 choices. They have to choose 3 of them to complete, and they're meant to be troop activities, things that the troop can do as a group, and hopefully bring them together better. Unlike some camps, we do not have the senior patrol leader go around and collect signatures from different people saying, yes, I did this. It's based on a scout's honor. So if your troop says that they did it, I am taking their senior patrol leader's word that task was accomplished. At the end of the week, by 5:45 on Friday night, the paperwork for that needs to be turned in to me or one of my commissioners here in the office. And at the campfire, those troops that complete the task will be awarded a ribbon to be attached to their flag. So our senior patrol leader will be sharing more information about that with your senior patrol leaders. We'll also mention it at the leaders meeting on Sunday night.
Okay, moving right along, what am I looking for next? So we have a number of troops that are arriving early, because they're coming from a great distance, or they just want to get another night of camping out, in the woods. If you indicated that you were going to be a Saturday arrival, on your registration, we have plans for you to be here, and there will be a staff member that will welcome you. We have over the weekends, our camp staff have 24 hours off between sessions, noon to noon. And so we will have what we call the weekend duty officer, which is kind of the 21-year-old staff member who gets to stay in camp over the weekend instead of going out and about. And that individual has the responsibility for checking those units in, getting them to their campsite, and really just addressing any issues that come up during that 24-hour period. Especially if I'm not on the duty officer, I usually slip away and grab a burger with some stick camp staff and things like that. And so if I'm off site, the duty officer kind of acts in my stead while I'm off property. With that said, is if you're one of those early arrivals, we're going to be figuring out who those duty officers are, and we're going to be emailing you who they are and what their cell phone number is, so you can kind of text them and give them that person updates of what your arrival is like, so that when you get to camp, they can be meeting you in the parking lot and get you out to your campsite. That said, early arrivals, there are no meals until Sunday evening in the dining hall, and there is no program areas open. You are going to be basically kind of, not necessarily, we're not telling you you can't leave your campsite, but at the same time, there really isn't anything for you to do outside of your campsite. And we ask that you don't go into program areas that aren't open and things like that. Like I said, respect that it's the staff time's off, and not ask for us to open those program areas for you because you're in the day early. So the staff will be back to work at noon on Sunday to facilitate check-in and what that all looks like. So we'll get you to your campsite Saturday night. Wish you a good night and see you the next day. So okay. Let's see here. Josh, you want to talk about introduction to outdoor leader skills?
Yeah, so as part of our kind of Pathfinders program, which is what we call our Trail First Class program for Scouts, we also include a section for the introduction to outdoor leadership skills for adult leaders. And so what that handles is most of the kind of practical aspects of it. So a lot of the knot tying, the fire starting, the knife safety, stuff like that. You'll be helping our instructors as they facilitate that for the Scouts. You guys will get some hands-on experience there as well. I believe there's a presentation component that Chris will follow up with you guys that go through the program later on during the week, just obviously because our staff needs to be doing Trail First Class stuff and not ILS things, but yeah, I believe you can do the whole program here, and it's not just Scoutmasters or assistant Scoutmasters. It's any adult with your unit that wants to go through that with us. We're happy to offer it. So
it's designed as a way for new leaders to be able to meet that requirement. That may be looking at I don't want to have to camp out over a weekend in the winter when my council offers it. We can do that here. Those people would be helping out in Pathfinders. I will say there's a time commitment because you will have to be in the Pathfinders program both days, Monday and Tuesday, for both the morning session and the afternoon session, and then on Wednesday and Thursday for the morning session. So it is a time commitment. But it is definitely worth it if you want to get that training taken care
of. Okay. Real quick, trailers. If your troop is bringing a trailer to camp, just so you know, we'll when Chris sends out the campsite assignments, there's going to be a little asterisk or a squiggly line or monkey or whatever next to each campsite where a trailer can park. Not all of our campsites have a place to safely park a trailer. So if you have a trailer that you would like to bring and whatnot, and you see that your campsite does not, reach out to Chris, let us know what you're looking to have the trailer in your campsite for, things like that. Maybe there's a workaround we can do, maybe there's a place further up the road that you can park the trailer, things like that, but we'll try to work that out before you get here. But it isn't necessarily a default that every campsite has a place to park a trailer in. And so just keep that in mind. Medications, so I realize that there are some camps where the camp medic takes all the medications that for scouts and adults on property and is in charge of dispensing them. That's not how we operate at Fire Mountain. Instead, what we will be issuing units that have medications are two things. One is a lockbox for if you need it. If you have another mechanism to secure medications and whatnot, absolutely, you don't necessarily need to take our lockbox, but there will be a small a lockbox available to you. And then two is we will have a sheet where you'll write down all of the scouts that need to take medication each day and just kind of mark it off. And then that sheet will be turned in to the medic for our documentation purposes. That way, you know your scouts, you know where they're at, their schedule, you're obviously living in a campsite with them. It's just so much more, it's just a lot easier than the medic trying to track them down and potentially kind of screwing up their schedule and where they're at by trying to get medications to them. The one exception is the medic will take any medications that require refrigeration. We do have a special refrigerator in the med shack to store those type of things. So if you do have scouts that have medications that require refrigeration, don't worry about that. We have a special place for that. The other exception to the rule is if there are medications that you as a scout leader do not feel comfortable holding on to for one reason or another. And no questions asked, if you don't feel comfortable holding on to a medication, let us know, we'll work with you to help facilitate that. And that might mean you as the leader going out and collecting all of your little ducks and bringing them to the med shack together to get that taken care of or whatnot. Or maybe it's one or two scouts that their particular medication is something that you would prefer to not keep in the campsite and things like that. But again, that's going to kind of be administered and led by you at the unit level, and we are here to support you in that endeavor. I saw something come in on the chat, so I want to see what that is. Is there a room to park utility trailers in the parking lot between arrival and departure?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, our parking lot is fairly large. So depending on obviously how many vehicles units use to come to camp, there's usually quite a bit of space to fit you in our parking lot. Yeah, so we should be able to help you facilitate that easily enough. Medication. So it's gotten a lot warmer here at Fire Mountain over the last 10 years or so. And as a result, one of the things that a lot of folks have asked about is ice if they wanted to have a cooler in their campsite, things like that. So the first part to that conversation is yes, we have an ice machine. Work with our kitchen staff to get your ice for your cooler. There are going to be times where they're going to tell you no. And it's not because no, that you can't have ice, it's no, you can't have ice right now. And that has a lot to do with them being able to pull ice from the machine to fill our salad bar, water pitchers and other things like that specifically for meals. We have a great salad bar for almost all of our meals and that requires ice in it. And so they're gonna put that ahead of everything else and try to make sure that's filled. But there are times of day where they will be able to help facilitate getting you some ice. The second part of the conversation about coolers and ice is be careful about what kind of cooler you bring to camp. Here at Fire Mountain, we are waging a silent but determined war with a ever-growing population of raccoons. And so they are fearless, they are smart, and they have absolutely no qualms coming in, joining you in your sleeping bag to get that Snickers bar that you left in your pocket. And so just be aware that we have found Yeti coolers pulled a couple of dozen feet away from the campsite. We have seen small coolers and action packers pulled 100 feet away from a campsite. They can open a Yeti. They can open up a lot of different. So we strongly recommend that you find a cooler again. Yeti, Arctic, and there are a variety of coolers that do this. But if it has a latch point, a padlock, we recommend that you find something like that, and any food or snacks that you would like to leave in the campsite with you guys, which we totally understand. Teenagers are bottomless pits of needs, and the calories that they consume are literally the engine that gets them going through a day at camp. So we're not telling you can't have food in the campsite. We're just begging you to please think consciously and defend your food at all costs from the raccoons, because they will definitely come for you. And so we'll definitely coach you when you get to camp about where to keep those type of things. Your bunk is not a safe place to necessarily have a cooler. They can smell it, and they'll, like I said, they'll come in and see you at night. So, but different ways to address that and things like that. Same with garbage in the campsites. We do regular pickups of garbage and things like that to help facilitate making sure that your campsite stays clean and hopefully devoid of things that they want to come for. Yes, secure snack patrol boxes, things like that. Anything, but again, like I said, is don't trust just the latch. If they can pull it open, they'll probably be able to do that. So if you can find a patrol box or method that, like I said, padlock or significant lock that you can't just open with your fingers, because they'll figure out pretty much anything. They're pretty smart. So that's raccoons in a nutshell. Let's see here.
Something that you haven't mentioned is footwear.
Yes, so I'll get that to. So there's one more thing about the raccoons. Actually, I want to mention mail. In the leader's guide, there was a note about our address and that parents can send mail to their scouts, and that could be a letter saying, "Mom misses you. We hope you're having a great time." But in these days and age, we find that a lot of parents are sending food, and that's fine. But be aware that our drop-off location for our mail, including Amazon.com, is our Ranger's house. And while we have a large plastic bin outside of our Ranger's house that says put packages in here, about half of the delivery drivers don't. They put it on top, they put it by the Ranger's door, they do it any number of different things. Long story short is, if you have food in a package that is mailed to camp, there is a 50-50 chance the raccoon is going to get that mail before your scout does. And just that's because our ranger is not home all day. He goes home several times a day, checks the mail, and brings it up to camp. We get it sorted out and get it out to campsites. But a year or two ago, we had a parent who had an Amazon package full of Pringles and candy. I mean, this kid was gonna have a feast from Amazon, and they sent us a picture that it was delivered and everything. Like, and they were adamant that one of our staff had stolen this food and whatnot. We found it 2 weeks later, out in the bushes, exploded everywhere, and there was just enough of the package to find out that it was indeed this Scouts. So so anyway, so be aware of that. Bob, you're asking bunks, not storing food under yours. Are bunks, cots provided by the camps for the tent? So our tents at Adirondacks, all of our sleeping facilities come with the most pristine and beautiful of plywood bunks. And so if you enjoy a hard mattress, that plywood bunk is perfect. If you don't enjoy a hard mattress, we strongly suggest you bring an air mattress or a foam pad, things like that. But it's a little bit smaller than a twin size bed mattress, standard mattress.
In our stents, the bunks are a little bit narrow. In the Adirondacks, they are a little bit wider. So a standard size twin air mattress would fit for sure in the Adirondacks.
Yeah. And our Adirondacks, just so you know, our Adirondacks are small cabins sized. If you think of like a really, really small one, they house 8 scouts, so the whole scout patrol can fit into an Adirondack. So there are 8 bed spots in an Adirondack with a picnic table out front, covered. And then stents, there are two types of stents. One is what we call a scout stent that has 4 plywood bunks, and a leader stent that has 2 plywood bunks. And the stents are about the size of a garden shed. So they're not, the stents are not huge. The great things about the stent campsites versus the Adirondack sites is because there are a lot of stents in a campsite, and it gives you a lot more like flexibility if you don't necessarily want a whole scout patrol in one area. But based on the kind of campsite, I strongly recommend you go to firemtn.org. It's a website run by our Staff Alumni Association. They have a map on that website that has pictures of some of the campsites, and you can kind of gauge. And it'll also tell you how many Adirondacks, how many stents, what the sleeping arrangements of each campsite are.
One thing I would like to, just going back to mail for a second, one thing I would like to mention about the mail, if you have parents that are going to send mail, please try to have them send it or mention it to them to send it as early as the Wednesday before you're supposed to come to camp. We will get mail for your scouts after you leave if your parents wait longer than that. So the earlier the better.
All right. Let's see here. Stents. Should we observe the VSA's 2-year max? Yes. So, okay. So with that said, for stents, the answer is yes. For Adirondacks, because of their size, you can follow the Guide to Safe Scouting's cabin or lodge because it creates enough physical space between most of your scouts. So you could have a little bit scouts beyond that 2 meters as long as they're sleeping on opposite sides because they've got that space. But in a scout stent, it is a much more enclosed, intimate space. And so yes, you do need to follow the Guide to Safe Scouting's outline for youth protection, which includes not bunking scouts that are more than 2 years in age apart from each other. firemtn.org. Okay, there you go, Matt. So, and then when you go to that website, just click on the map button, and then you can just click on each of the campsites. So, so you can kind of flip through and see what those are.
Blue cards. So here at Fire Mountain, we have gotten away from handwriting blue cards because of technology. So the Black Pug registration system that you all registered for camp through, what Josh is going to be spending a lot of his time doing is updating your Scouts achievements. At the end of the week, and I'm going to address 2 things here. At the end of the week, on Friday morning at our Scoutmaster meeting, I'm going to bring down what we call white cards. That is the first run of the Scouts achievements on their merit badges, and the first opportunity for you to see whether you have Scouts that have completed their merit badges, or if there are maybe some issues that have come up. A common one is fishing. Your Scout, you have a picture of your Scouts' fish that they caught and they cleaned and they met the requirement, but they never showed it to the counselor. That's the kind of stuff that we can update on Friday. When you come for checkout on Saturday morning, in the 3 years that we've been running the white card process and into the blue cards, I have yet to have a Scoutmaster sit down at the table and go through their blue cards again before leaving, because everything is pretty much taken care of at that point. So on Saturday morning, you will get printouts of the blue cards on actual blue paper. It will be up to you and your Scouts to cut them up, but they're printed on both sides. They have all the same information that an old-fashioned physical blue card would have. So.
Also throughout the week, you guys will have access to, because they're hanging up in the Scoutmaster Lounge, our kind of tracking spreadsheets, which detail, what requirements were accomplished which day. So if you guys really want to watch our progress, throughout the week and really see, for example, did your Scout show up to class that day? Keep an eye on those tracking sheets.
So I put it in the chat bubble, but just here, we do kill a small forest every week because you're going to get a merit badge schedule for your Scouts when you arrive on Sunday. You're gonna get another merit badge schedule for all of your scouts Monday morning, based on whatever changes they made at the merit badge scramble. You're gonna get the white cards on Friday morning, and then the final blue cards Saturday morning before you leave. So all of these different changes, and obviously at any point when if there's a problem or a change, things like that, we print everything again. So we work really diligently because and we do all of that because what we want is that when you leave camp on Saturday morning, that there aren't any issues or problems that we need to address. And you know, but via email, because it's always a pain to get a blue card followed up by email and so on and so forth, especially because for many of you, you're gonna leave camp on Saturday, and we're gonna have a new wave of scouts coming in on Sunday, and our brains are already moving on to the next group of scouts that are coming in and whatnot, and so trying to remember, like, wait, did I see Timmy tie that knot? I don't remember, and things like that, and then never mind, you know, for trying to find a staff member once they've left camp. So, like I said, we really want to make sure that your blue cards are squared away well in advance. Is the cell service decent? The answer is yes. AT&T is pretty decent. Verizon is pretty good. T-Mobile is great. I'm trying to think who has probably the weakest cell service out here.
AT&T, I think.
AT&T has some holes on certain parts of the property, but yeah, no, our cell service is pretty spot on out here for the most part. Let's see here. Also, just for conducting your job and whatnot, if there's like our Scoutmasters Lounge, obviously we have a few meetings now in our Scoutmasters Lounge. The Scoutmasters meeting in the morning, the Senior Patrol Leaders meeting right after lunch. But the Scoutmasters Lounge is a great place to kind of go and hide and squirrel away and get some work done. We also have camp Wi-Fi that you can get the password from Chris and his commissioners, so you can go down there, log in, and get some work done.
The only thing about the Wi-Fi, please do not share the password with scouts.
Yeah.
It's for leaders only.
Alrighty then. Okay, let's see here. I only had one last thing on my thing, so I'm gonna preface that as this is the last thing on my agenda. So if you have those burning questions that you've been patiently waiting till the very end, feel free to start dropping those into the chat box. I want to talk about dress code at Fire Mountain. So Chris had mentioned closed-toed shoes. So closed-toed shoes is one thing, one aspect of this, but the general philosophy about clothing at camp is twofold. One, is it practical / safe for the activity that you are doing? So looking at what you are doing, is this the best clothing to be wearing doing that activity? Is it comfortable? Does it protect you from whatever you're doing and things like that? Are you riding a bicycle? Are flip-flops the right thing to be wearing on a bicycle? Probably not. And what does that do? So we want to make sure that your scouts come prepared to wear practical clothing, and obviously also realizing that summer is getting warmer and warmer. I grew up in the interior of Alaska, where this whole 80, 90 degree nonsense, it really just, I become a puddle of goo. And so I see scouts showing up at camp wearing long blue jeans and hoodies, and it's 95 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Having a hard time believing that that's safe and appropriate clothing. I'm sure it's keeping them safe from the elements, but other than the heat toasting them inside. So just be aware of how they're dressing from a safety standpoint, and they're bringing the best possible clothing for that. On the note of closed-toed shoes specifically, Fire Mountain for a long time was referred to as Mud Mountain because especially in our non-summer season, it rains quite a bit here, and all of our dirt turns into mud. And so the scouts lovingly refer to it as Mud Mountain, or maybe not so lovingly. Our response to that was over the last 10, 15, 20 years, we have poured tens of thousands of dollars of gravel into Fire Mountains, largely thanks to the McKinley family, who donated a large portion of that gravel to us. And so our roads are made of gravel, our campsites have quite a bit of gravel in them, a lot of our trail network has gravel on it. Now, while some of this gravel is slowly sinking into the mud, and continue to put more gravel on top of it and things like that, that means that there's a lot of gravel everywhere. And one of our biggest injury points is scouts running around in flip-flops or open-toed shoes, and a piece of gravel goes flying in and decides to wiggle around with their toes, and next thing you know, their toenail is bleeding or missing, and it's not a lot of fun. So we, as a camp, we have a policy of closed-toed shoes are the norm in camp. When you're wandering around camp, they should be wearing closed-toed shoes. Taking showers, you're on the beach at the waterfront, maybe you're getting in and out of canoes, things like that. Oftentimes, water shoes or flip-flops, things like that are an appropriate footwear for those areas, but traveling to and from those areas, we encourage you to wear closed-toed shoes to protect that, because the last thing that everybody wants is to have to go to the ER to deal with a toe that just won't stop bleeding. And unfortunately, because it's one of our extremities, your toes love to bleed once you get cut open. So so keep that in mind. The second piece about clothing and dress code is that this is a scout camp. And so while there are definitely, and I encourage you to go and look at some of the guidelines on the national website about clothing and whatnot, the Fire Mountain camp staff will be dressed in scout uniform to set a standard and set the bar. We set the bar high. We realize that not every scout that comes to camp can afford to be in a scout uniform all of the time, be it a field uniform or an activity uniform. There are a lot of troops that come to camp wearing blue jeans with their field uniform. They're wearing random shorts that they got from Costco or REI or wherever, and that is totally fine. My kids dress from the Goodwill. And that's totally fine. They don't have to be green shorts and green socks and so forth. That's a standard we set for our camp staff to look a certain way. We encourage you to mimic that, though. We are a uniformed organization. We should look like scouts. We should act like scouts at all times, and embrace that is what we are here to do together. And so with that said, scouts that choose to wear less clothing than is appropriate will be brought up. If a member of the camp management team asks a scout to put a shirt on or put a little bit more clothes on, things like that, we ask that they do that so that they're not one, endangering themselves because they're not wearing enough clothes, but also so they're not a distraction or drawing attention away from the mission of what we're trying to accomplish here at Fire Mountain. And so with that, is that if they choose to ignore us, that'll get bumped up to you as the unit leader, and it is our expectation, just like any other disciplinary issue, that you as a unit will deal with that to meet this kind of shared standard for all of us in camp. We have had way too many Scoutmaster meetings where Chris has had to arbitrate, where 5, 6, 7 scout troops are yelling like, "Please, scouts, put your shirt on." And this is not about young ladies or young men. This is all of our scouts need to be dressing appropriately, and so on and so forth. So
there were a couple of questions about electricity. First of all, our shower houses, yes, they do have power outlets. So those are available for things like electric razors, blow dryers, things like that. We encourage you not to use those for charging your cell phones. Please make sure your scouts are not charging their cell phones or game systems or whatever, because we are not responsible for those things if they're taken. If you as a leader need to charge your cell phone, we do have outlets down in our Scoutmaster Lounge. We do have outlets throughout the camp in different places, like our Janaki shelter. You're welcome to use those. As Sven just posted, our campsites do not have electricity. I've gotten a couple of emails already about CPAPs. We highly encourage you, if you have a CPAP, to bring a rechargeable battery, because that's how you're going to have to operate it. You can bring that battery up to our Scoutmaster Lounge or our medic's office, and we have outlets in both of those places where you're welcome to charge those.
All right. sorry, I'm just kind of typing responses to a few different things. So there's a question about bathing suiting, can they wear two pieces and things like that? So as far as rule of thumb, keep it practical. Think through what you're trying to accomplish, what you're doing. So for example, for you're asking about two pieces, so I'm guessing you're referring primarily to young women's bathing suits. My daughter wears a two-piece bathing suit. That said, it's not a bikini. She doesn't wear a thong, and style bathing suit, so on and so forth. But her two-piece, she's a bit of a bigger girl, kind of like that. And she finds it more comfortable. So again, just be practical, be thoughtful. Are we here to sunbathe and attract a boy, or are we here to earn the swimming merit badge? What's going to be a good practical piece of equipment for that? And so, like I said, that's a conversation I trust you as scout leaders to have with your youth, and kind of guide them and mentor them on that. So if you need me to tell you specifically what every one of your scouts needs to wear, that's not something I feel comfortable doing. We are a uniformed organization. Flip open the scout handbook, look at the photos, get a guidance. But the reality is what is enough clothing? Again, it's one of those things. Is clothing is subjective, but it's also objective in the context of there's a reason that a young man doesn't need to be wandering through the parade field shirtless. We had a scout a few years ago who was shirtless in the middle of flag ceremony, doing muscle poses to the girls next to him. That's not appropriate. That's not what he should be wearing during a flag ceremony. It's not like, again, shirtless boy on the waterfront doing swimming, that makes sense. Shirtless boy in the middle of the parade field, understand what's going on there. Young lady in a nothing but a sports bra, don't really understand that. That doesn't seem particularly practical. So I need to like I said, I encourage you to kind of look at the guidelines nationals given, but also go with the mentality of looking at your scouts and talking to them about what they're trying to get out of this situation. What is it they're trying to do with their clothing, and what they want to try to project. The young men that we have at camp that decide to wear pants and shorts that hang down past their butt, things like that. Again, not particularly the most useful. So again, it's one of those things, but and by the same token, there are going to be cultures in camp that have different clothing standards. There are going to be scouts who are going to wear quite a bit more clothing than what others are going to. So this is going to be something where we, as a community in camp, need to work together with that. But what I'm telling you is that I and my management team, when a scoutmaster comes to us and says, "Hey, my scouts are uncomfortable, our scouts are distracted, or things like that by scouts from another troop," you as scoutmasters need to work that out. And like I said, we've had a couple of years, the last few years, where it's by no means is this all on one side or the other of any particular group. But we've had some very long conversations in scoutmasters meetings, and it's one of those things where that we all are here to execute the mission of scouting first and foremost. And so again, this is a conversation that you should have with your scouts as their scoutmasters. Let's see here. Let's see here. I'm trying to see. There were a few other questions that came in. So our staff. So you're going to see the three of us are wearing navy blue shirts. They show off the Fire Eagle logo that you can actually see on our computer here on the side, because there it is. That's the Fire Eagle, big word staff. We also wear neckerchiefs about 80% of the time. Obviously when we're doing coping, climbing and harnessed in or swimming, and on lifeguard duty, we don't wear neckerchiefs. Oftentimes our kitchen staff will take these off so they don't drip into the food, things like that. But as a rule, you're going to see staff members dressed in a staff shirt. You'll see us in scout shorts, scout pants, venturing shorts, with socks and things like that. But we'll be either wearing a staff shirt or a variety. We have a number of staff shirts. The three of us are wearing polos right now. We have t-shirts. We have staff Hawaiian shirts, hoodies, things like that. But they all are blue. They all have this Fire Eagle logo with the word staff on it. And we all wear, so for our summer seasonal staff, it is a green neckerchief with a tan border, also emblazed with the Fire Eagle, and then our name tags are clipped onto it. So that is how you recognize staff. Oh, and then our hats are green with the Fire Mountain logo on it. So we're pretty well uniformed, pretty easy to pick out of a lineup. And then when we're all, the other thing that you'll see us wearing fairly regularly is obviously our field uniform, or Class A. So we all wear tan or venturing uniforms and whatnot. But again, when we're in our field uniforms, you'll see us with our neckerchiefs. So the neckerchief is the easiest way to find a staffer. Oftentimes, even if you're showing up on a Saturday and it's our day off, I might be wearing a Smoky Bear t-shirt and a pair of Philmont shorts. That's my off attire, but I'll still throw on my neckerchief when I'm reading units coming to camp. So easy way to find a staff member and talk to us about that. So we're in the boot. Let's see, we're talking about outlets in the shower house. So CPAP machines, I mentioned in the chat. If there are CPAP machine needs, we do not have power in our campsites, but we are more than happy to facilitate plugging in and charging those in our med shack, keeping those safe. Chris mentioned cell phones and charging for those. Coffee machines, unfortunately, again, no power in the campsites. French press. But
our kitchen manager does bring coffee down to the Scoutmaster Lounge, so you're welcome to come down and get that at any time during the day.
I will say, I totally understand those of you who cannot wait for the coffee for the kitchen manager or anyone else. You need it like morning. So like I said, French press or drip over, pour over coffee is what I do when I'm out in the campsites. So that I do sleep out on campsites occasionally. Sometimes you just need that. Okay. Waiting for any other comments or questions in the box.
If anybody does have any questions that come up after the meeting, Sven's going to put the camp email address in the chat right now, please. Some of you have already gotten emails back from us. Our camp email address is camp.staff@firemtn.org, and Sven has it in the chat now. So if you send an email to that, Josh, myself, Sven, and our business manager, Colin, we all see those emails, and we answer those as quickly as we can.
Oh, I'm sorry, Corey Ann. I did see your question. I thought you were asking about how staff are identified, which is why I was talking about the staff uniform. You're asking about regarding tips or gifts for staff members. Obviously, so I will tell you, this man right here got a pretty nice looking woggle as a thank you gift from a scout troop that he was a troop guide for, if I remember right.
3 years ago.
Now, so what I encourage you is if you have a staff member that your scout really appreciated and maybe that staff member did something above and beyond that they felt really. There are a couple of different things. One is our Staff Alumni Association asked our staff a number of years ago what was like one of the number one things that they could do to help support staff. And as I mentioned earlier, our camp staff wears the official uniform of Scouting America. And one of the things that a lot of staff members said is, I don't have enough socks because for some of us have 30 or 40 pairs of scout socks, but most of us don't. And so a lot of our young staff members are like, hey, I would really like an opportunity to get more socks. So what we have is is called sock tickets. So staff members who go above and beyond, management team members can give out these sock tickets, and then every day we do a lottery. All the sock tickets go into a bucket, and names are pulled out to win socks a couple of times a day, and that are pulled from our general store inventory. And so let a management member know about a staff member who did a great job. We're more than happy to give them a sock ticket as a thank you to that. Otherwise, most of our staff, now I'm not gonna say all, but most of our staff, they're scouts too. This is what they do year round. They love scouting, they love doing it. Bring a patch, neckerchief, woggle, any number of those kind of things. A lot of our staff really are touched and motivated by a scout who brings them a patch and says, hey, thank you very much for what you did for me. I'm from this so and so forth council. Can I give you one of my council shoulder patches, or can I give you a patch from something or whatever? So as far as tips go, I wouldn't encourage any monetary tips and whatnot. Again, I will say we do have a couple of methods to financially say thank you to some staff members who again go above and beyond. I would certainly encourage you to let Josh and I specifically, we're the ones who give out some bonuses at the beginning of every week on behalf of our Staff Alumni Association to do that, as well as some gifts and thank you that we give out every week that actually our staff vote amongst themselves on who really helped motivate the staff and keep it together during the week. So we have staffers of the week to do that. So
our friend with the iPhone designation had their hand up.
Hi,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, my question was about volunteers, or maybe I'm using the wrong word. I'm not a scout leader, I'm a committee member. I do not have a scout uniform. Is the expectation that I need to get one so that I can volunteer at camp?
No.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, we understand. So I would strongly encourage you to I would strongly encourage you to get like if you have a troop t-shirt or anything like that, so that especially for the first day or two while we're all kind of getting to know each other on property, so that we know that you're one of us. We'll have wristbands so that it is identifiable, but folks who aren't scouts tend to stick out like a sore thumb around here because we're all wearing more or less the same thing, especially during flags and whatnot. So definitely encourage you, but there is no requirement at all to own a uniform to volunteer in scouting. And there's no requirement to own a uniform to be a youth in scouting either. And so no requirement there at all, sir. No.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, let's see here. I'm going through the chat bubble again just one more time to make sure.
While Sven's doing that, does anyone else have a question that they just want to unmute and ask?
Keep coming across the outlets in the showers, and all I can think about is electricity and water.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Absolutely.
I was wondering on your ammunition, what the cost is currently scheduled for those that are doing rifle or shooting merit badge, and if there is an option to purchase additional if they need it.
I don't remember what the cost is. I want to say it was, oh man, 20?
So I don't know the answer to the first part. For the second part, once they've purchased their ticket to be able to work on that merit badge, they have as many shots as they need to be able to earn those requirements. So there wouldn't be a need to purchase extra in order to do that.
Don't quote me on it, but my recollection was that it was like $10 or $15 for rifle merit badge and like 30 for shotgun. But we'll add that to the email blast out that Chris is going to do on campsites.
Would there be an option for those that are not taking the merit badges to purchase ammo and purchase additional ammo as well? Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, that can be bought in our general store during general store hours.
Tickets for the ammo, not the bullets
tickets
themselves.
And speaking of the general store, just real quick, on Monday mornings and Wednesday mornings, we're going to have the general store open, but it's only going to be open and accessible for scouts who need things for their merit badges. So if your scout's like, you know, I just need that first diet Pepsi or whatever the kids are drinking, Mountain Dew, I guess, is the big thing. I need that first Mountain Dew to get my day started. Sadly, they're not going to be able to get that because our priority is going to be for those kids that need, those scouts that need merit badge items. So please communicate that to your scouts.
All right.
Not to hog everything, last question. For those that you guys talked about bringing bicycles and the opportunity for that, for those that are doing fishing or want to do fishing, what sort of gear are they allowed to bring, or can they bring, or should they bring to do the fishing portion?
They can bring, okay, I'm really worried about saying bring whatever they want, because there's that one kid that'll bring a stick of dynamite, but, they, in all seriousness, they, as far as their poles or reels, they can, the camp has all the fishing equipment that they would need, to fish and whatnot, but that said, if they wanna bring their own fishing pole, they can definitely do that. There are a few places in camp where a scout could fly fish if they wanted to, but they need to come check in with us before they go fly fishing, just because there, around the lake, there are not a lot of places that give the amount of backswing area to do that safely. So, so with that said, you know, they can definitely bring their own rod, reel, fishing net, so on and so forth. But we encourage them not to bring, you know, high explosives or other methods to bring the fish to the top.
You know, let's not blow the lake up.
So, did that answer that? Sorry about that. Okay, yeah, but like I said, they also don't need to bring anything if they don't want to. I understand that a lot of parents, especially, are a little skeptical of their child bringing a you know, $2,000 rod or whatever it is that they might have at home to camp. So if they're worried about making sure that they can go fishing, we've got them covered. We've got stuff here too. So
I will also say about the fish, to the best of my knowledge, you know, if you were thinking of bringing some bait or lures from home, our fish, for whatever reason, seem pretty accustomed to power bait. And usually what changes year to year is just what color. So I don't know why that's what consistently works, but that is usually by far the most successful kind of baiting substance. So yeah.
all right. With that, going once, going twice. I think with that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this evening's meeting. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Almost an hour and 20 minutes. I don't know if we broke last night's or Friday night's record, but thanks for a great night. We look forward to seeing all of you here at Fire Mountain for a great summer season. Good night, all.
Have a good night.